This video, I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin. I know this video is long overdue. Really, really long overdue. I haven't really made a proper cryptocurrency video in a long, long time. I got busy, family life, different types of ventures. And plus at the end of the day, there's only so many ways you can spin the same story over and over again, and there's many, many other much better content creators out there than I when it comes to this space. Anyways, I want to give you an updated perspective on Bitcoin. And I want to start with this. When people talk about crypto and they talk about Bitcoin, they like to group everything together. I don't like that. When I talk about Bitcoin, I talk about it in its own universe. It has been here the longest. It has a very unique set of properties that no other blockchain has. And it has the mimesis and the narrative that no other crypto has. So when we speak about crypto, there is Bitcoin, and then there is everything else. And even in Ethereum, when people speak about blockchains, there is Ethereum, and then there's everything else. Everything is in its own silo, that it has its own use case and special properties. But Bitcoin is very, very important on what's happening on the global macro scale. So what I want to talk about is the macro viewpoint of Bitcoin versus the micro viewpoint. So macro versus micro. So if you look at what's happening, we have to analyze what's happening in the world today. Couple of very interesting things. Number one, the big fucking elephant in the room is our global money supply. So ever since COVID, we've been, the libertarians and the Austrian economics people, we've been screaming for years that the inflation is the worst form of tax. It's eroding your dollar. And ever since 1971, when we decoupled from gold, 100% decoupled from gold, and we became the petrodollar, your buying power has been decreasing. There's that famous image. Go to Google, type in US dollar decreasing in buying power, and you'll see it's a declining slope. It's horrible. So ever since 1971, and it's a great website to check out what the fuck happened in 1971, our dollar has been decreasing. It is becoming toilet paper. And now since COVID, we thought it's going to take a little bit longer. We're entering in something called modern monetary theory when there is no debt. Debt doesn't matter. We will print trillions of dollars and airdrop it from the sky. Well, what the fuck? What do you think happens when trillions of dollars gets injected into the ecosystem? Well, two things happen. I made a video 2 days ago called the Catalonian effect. I won't go into detail, but that's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens is simple supply and demand economics. You're injecting trillions of dollars into ecosystem. Therefore, asset prices get propagated up. Therefore, inflation happens and your buying power decreases. It's like me going, all of a sudden, it's like, hey, we're going to put $10 trillion more of this type of currency in the marketplace. Of course, inflation is going to happen. That's exactly what happens. And so we are at a rapid increase of inflation where your dollar is breaking apart. That's very, very important. The second important thing, or I should say the third most important thing, is the macro global order. So what we're seeing right now, it's more tension between US and China, US and other nations. We are now reverting back into nationalism as opposed to globalism. We're having tariff wars. We're having currency wars. And basically what this is going to entail and how this is really important is the global, let's say from the super PAC since World War II, the global status quo is falling apart. And the cycles happen like this. A great book to read is The Fort Turning by Neil Strauss and anything by Rene Girard. So in The Fort Turning, they talk about there's always generational shifts, and it happens, I think, on every 20, 30 year cycles. And we're at the precipice right now between a shift with millennials and a shift with Zoomers. And so basically you have these two zeitgeists, these different psychologies are going to war against each other. But like any turbulation and any issue, there is always blood on the street. There's always going to be collateral damage. And when people speak about revolution and people speak about change, yeah, it's great. But there's always blood on the streets before another form of revolution. The American Revolution, war, any type of country see issues around the world, civil war. It's not like, oh, well, I peacefully step down or I peacefully hand over you power. Once power is taken, power is never handed back. Now, going back to the Bitcoin point of view for this. So we have a global order that's falling apart. We have modern monetary theory happening, and we have COVID happening. You have all this trifecta all at once. Bam, bam, bam. This is where Bitcoin fits in perfectly. So I don't know if you've been paying attention, but MicroStrategy, a publicly traded company, bought a huge share of Bitcoin, which is crazy, crazy fucking news. The Pandora's box is opening where people are realizing Bitcoin is a better option of deploying capital than deploying capital something else. Another big clue, if you look at Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett bought his own stock back. This is a huge signal to the marketplace saying we don't feel comfortable or we don't see any other asset class or anywhere else we can deploy capital to make a return. We rather own our own stock. And so we are now seeing let's call it erosion of the stock market. Thank God, because it is the fake Ponzi socialist elite market. We are seeing an erosion of the stock market and seeing the erosion of the global fiat order. And so when you have huge entities like Berkshire Hathaway, like MicroStrategy, like even Ray Dalio, where they can't even deploy capital, this is where Bitcoin is, if not the best positioned asset in the world. You have an asset here that's slowly becoming asymmetrical, uncorrelated with the S&P and with the Dow. Think about that for a second. Slowly, not 100% right now, but slowly over time, Bitcoin is becoming uncorrelated with the stock market. Number two, Bitcoin is the only digital asset out there that you have a supply and demand where you know exactly there's 21 million Bitcoin. You know the issuance of Bitcoin. We know exactly how many miners are joining the pool. We know everything. It's 100% transparent on the blockchain. It's one of the biggest computer networks on the planet. It has a Lindy effect. It's been here 10 plus. We just celebrated the Bitcoin white paper, I think 2-3 days ago. And so you have Bitcoin as the perfect type of digital asset that offers protection in times of turbulence. Supply and demand. So we have Austrian economics on Bitcoin. It's divisible. Right? You can buy Satoshis. You don't even have to buy 0.1 of a Bitcoin. You can buy Satoshis. It's censorship resistant. We just saw Iran say, hey, we're going to welcome Bitcoins over here because they want to bypass global economic sanctions. If you Google right now today, Bitcoin Cuba, Bitcoin search in Cuba is one of the highest it's ever been. So people around the world are realizing I need an asset class that I can have access to that the government can't repossess and the government can't manipulate with. And so for me, it is, in fact, Bitcoin to me, it is in the most perfect situation possible for true globalization of people realizing this is one of the best, strongest asset class ever created. It's the most, like the 10th wonder of the world or 9th wonder of the world type of deal. And so I give this example to people. Like people say, oh, real estate. If you look at real estate from early 50s till the 1990s, real estate was flatlined. And in fact, it had periods of complete negativity. And it was only until the dot-com crash in the 90s, 96, 97, 98, that real estate started taking off. Couple of reasons. After the dot-com crash, people trying to figure out where can I have a safer bet to bet against inflation. Even then, like it wasn't like interest rates were extremely high. Interest rates in Canada from 89, 91. And so even before the dot-com crash was double digits, but around the 1996 to 98, it was still like 5%, 6% interest rates. Fairly cheap compared to back then in those rates. It was double digits before that. And so basically you have after the dot-com crash and then after amnesty rules, Google what amnesty rules are, you had mainland Chinese and people from overseas coming in to money launder. That's pretty much what real estate is on a global scale, to money launder money into safer, let's call them safer legal jurisdictions where they feel that their money is protected and they're willing to pay a premium on that real estate and also to have a fast forwarded landed immigrant status because they put their kids on that deed or lease and they have trust, etc. I'll make a whole different video about how that kind of interesting game works. I say today, right now in 2021, Bitcoin is our generational real estate. People don't have, I don't see real estate having the same asymmetrical returns as their parents did. Bitcoin offers something that no other asset class in the world offers. I can buy it from peer to peer. I can buy it many different ways. I can buy 1 Satoshi. I can buy 0.1 Bitcoin. I am my own Swiss bank account. I own my Bitcoin. It is censorship resistant. It is portable. It is divisible. And I know the issuance rates. I know it's 21 million Bitcoin. I know exactly how much miners are going to get. And this is why I am so extremely bullish on Bitcoin. And remember, things are going to get really, really tricky in the coming next couple of years, especially now. The elections are what? Is it tomorrow? I think, yeah, it is Tuesday. I think elections are tomorrow, and the next 3 months, 90 days are going to be chaotic in the United States. And what happens in the United States affects the global paradigm of the world. And I think it would be very, very foolish for people who are looking for different alternative option not to have some upside in exposure to Bitcoin. If publicly traded companies right now are going out buying Bitcoin, that's for me the biggest sign of like, they are capitulating to the very fact that they themselves, the so-called Wall Street bankers, don't see other ways of capitalizing on the liquid dry powder they have. That Bitcoin offers them something that no other asset class offers. And to bring it back to full circle, Bitcoin is having its day. It's just the beginning. I think we will see 100K Bitcoin price very soon. I don't have a timeline for that, but I think will happen quicker than later. And if you haven't already, people keep on saying, oh, it's too expensive. It was too expensive at 1. It was too expensive at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 13,000 give or take today. I still think there's at least a 10K upside in Bitcoin. And if you're an individual looking for something that's not connected to the S&P, not connected to real estate, that's portable, divisible, censorship resistant, then Bitcoin is for you. Peace out.